ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the December 7th meeting of the Montoursville Area School District. The organizational meeting is hereby called to order. I would ask that everybody please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The Board Secretary, Robert Soll, was unable to attend tonight's meeting, and in his absence, I would ask that the Assistant Business Administrator, Mr. Kunze, read the certificates of election and the composition of the board, and I've suggested that he read just one certificate of election rather than repeat each one, and then name the board members and the expiration date of their current term of office.
Thank you, Mr. Holland. Board of Elections from the Lycoming County, Williamsport, PA. The undersigned members of the County Board of Elections of Lycoming County hereby certify that after tabulating the votes cast at the November 3rd, 2015 municipal election in Lycoming County, it appears that Denise Johns was duly elected to the office of School Director for a 4-year term for the election district of Montoursville Area School District 3 in the municipality of Montoursville Area School District. We also have like certificates for Alan Kaplan, Region 2, Robert Loeb, Region 1, William McCleary, Region 2, and Ronald Snell, Region 1. All have 4-year terms expiring December 2nd, 2019. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Kunze. The next item of business is to administer the oath of office to the newly elected board members, and I'm pleased to introduce Judge Dudley and Anderson, who will administer the oath to the 5 newly elected board members. Judge Anderson.
Okay. Would you folks please rise? Raise your right hand, and when I use the word swear, you may affirm if you so choose. Okay? Would you repeat after me? I do solemnly swear that I will support, obey, and defend the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of this Commonwealth. And I will discharge the duties of School Board Director of Montoursville Area School District with fidelity. Duty of the School Board Director for the Montoursville Area District with fidelity. School District with fidelity. Okay. Through that.
And Judge Anderson has already countersigned the written form of the oath of office, and will now ask you each to sign it, and if you would turn that into Mr. Kunze at the end of the meeting, or any time during the meeting, that would be much appreciated. Judge Anderson, thank you very much for attending tonight to administer the oath. We greatly appreciate it. The next item of business on the organizational meeting agenda is to elect a temporary president. And pursuant to the school code, the temporary president must be elected from one of the 4 holdover school board positions. Therefore, must be either Mr. Hagermeyer, Mr. Kunkel, Ms. president, and please note that nominations for this office and for any of the other offices do not require a second. So are there any nominations for temporary president? Anybody is permitted to make a nomination, any of the nine. Nomination for George Hagemeyer. Are there any other nominations? Is there a motion for closing the nominations?
Motion to close the nomination.
Is there a second? And the motion to close does require a second. Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion of closing nominations? If not, all in favor, please say aye. Are there any opposed?
No.
Okay, I believe that the motion passed. Who was opposed, please? There were 2 opposed?
No.
Okay, 3 opposed to closing the nominations. The motion to close nominations has passed. We will now vote for the office of temporary president. All those in favor of Mr. Hagemeyer taking the position of temporary president, please say aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed?
No.
It appears that that passes 6-3 as well. Mr. Hagemeyer, would you please come here and conduct the portion of the agenda that is required for the temporary president, which consists of 2 items. The first thing we need to do, since Mr. Saul is the board secretary, is elect an acting secretary, and the agenda suggests that it be Mr. Kunze. But Mr. Hagemeyer, I'll now turn it over to you to conduct this portion of the meeting. I think that microphone will reach better.
At this time, I'd like to take nominations for President of the Montoursville School Board.
You need an acting secretary first, so that he can take notes.
Oh, as I was doing that, I thought you just were president.
No, it's item number 5 is appointment of acting secretary. So you need a motion and a second.
Okay, may I have a motion for an acting secretary?
I'll make a motion that Kirk Kunze be the acting secretary.
Any questions or comments? Those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries.
Now you can move on to nominations for the permanent president.
Now, may I ask for nominations and a motion for the election of the office of president of the Montoursville School? I would like to make a motion of Ron Snell being Montoursville School president.
You don't need a second for a nomination, but you need to find out if there are any other nominations.
Are there any other nominations?
You should have a motion to close.
Do I have a motion to close the nominations? Do I hear a second?
Second.
Then we have Ron Snell as,
No, you need to get a vote on the motion to close.
may I have a motion to,
No, you have a motion, you just need to take a vote.
don't mind me, I apologize, I'm a little nervous. All in favor? All those opposed?
No.
Motion carries.
And now you need to vote on him as president. In other words, the nominations are closed. So now you need to
Now I
take a
need
vote
to-
on how many people approve of his being elected as president.
May I have,
Just all in favor?
all those in favor of Ron Snell being board president? Aye. All those opposed? No. Motion carries. Mr. Snell, now you may take over.
Nope. Nope. those in favor? Opposed? All those in favor of Mr. George Hagemeyer for treasurer?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Motion carries. This time I'd like to make a motion to affirm the nomination and election of Robert E. Saul as school board secretary for the four-year term from July 1st, 2013 through June 30th, 2017.
Need a second?
Yes.
Second.
All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. At this time, I would like to appoint committee representatives for Building and Grounds, Mr. Bob Lowe; for co-curricular, Mr. William McCleary; for Finance, Mr. Alan Kaplan; for Technology, Mrs. Denise Johns; for Policy, Mr. Alan Kaplan; for IU-17, Mr. Bill Ruffings; for LICO CTC, Mr. George Hagemeyer; for Transportation, Mrs. Jen Marriott; for Pennsylvania School Board Association Representative, Mr. Alan Kaplan; for Memorial Grounds, Mr. Scott Conkle. I'd like to call for nominations for designation of a newspaper of general circulation.
Second.
All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. I'd like to make a motion to set the time and date of regular school board meetings to be made the second Tuesday of the month at 6:30 p.m. with work sessions held on the fourth Tuesday of the month at 6:30 p.m. except as amended by the calendar attached to the agenda. Could I get a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Opposed?
No.
Motion carries. At this time, I'd like to call for a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Motion to adjourn.
Can I get a second? All those in favor? Opposed? The meeting is adjourned. To forego the roll call and flag salute for this meeting. Somebody make a motion to approve the minutes for the November meeting.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Now I'd like to make a motion to revise the agenda to include the building project and to discuss a change of the Montoursville area school district solicitor. Can I get a second? Second. All those in favor? Oh, questions or comments? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Now, before
recognitions and awards. Mrs. Dora Paoli and Mrs. Joe Kaplan, please come forward. Dora, on behalf of the Montoursville Area School District, I would like to present this plaque to you for your 12 years of service on the school board, and also thank you for your 22 years of service for the Montoursville School District as an employee, totaling 34 years of service in this district. Thank you.
Dora, on behalf of the Snowflake Common Sense candidates, we would also like to thank you very much for all your service to this district. We'd like to present you with these.
At this time, Pastor Bob Hine from Twin Hills Church of the Nazarene and representing the Montoursville Ministerium wishes to address the Board of Directors.
Correction, it's a First Christian Church here in Montoursville.
I'm sorry.
I would like to address the board. Thank you for your service. And I'd like to open up with prayer if I can. Father God, I thank you for the candidates that have been newly elected. I thank you for those that have served faithfully in the past. Father, I ask that you will bestow wisdom and encouragement and discernment upon these board members, Father, in the coming year. Ask that you will guide them in decisions that will be made, that they will use the faculties that you have given them, that they will do what's best for all concerned, Father. I just pray upon this meeting that your Spirit will be over each and every one, and that we might conduct ourselves in a good and civil way, Father. Father, I pray all these things in Christ's holy name.
Thank you. This board has an expectation of reasonable decorum from the audience. There will be no cheering, no clapping, no booing, and no holding up placards or signs. Anyone who cannot follow these rules will be asked to leave. If they refuse to do so, they will be escorted out. At this time, we will, for the citizens that filled out request forms to speak, we will be having a maximum time period not to exceed 30 minutes, and all comments will be limited to 5 minutes. The speaker should state his or her name, address, and identify the specific agenda item he or she wishes to comment on. Once the 30-minute time period lapses, any additional comments will be held until the end of the meeting, time permitting. At this time, Ms. Renee Carey, you may come forward.
Hi, my name is Renee Carey. I live at 429 Cherry Street here in the borough. And I guess it's one of the new agenda items that was just added this evening, and that's the construction project. So at last month's meeting, Mrs. Kaplan made a motion to halt construction of the new high school. I realize this motion may be made again this evening, and I'd like to encourage the board to fully explore what a construction halt could mean to the funding already obtained for the project before making any decisions and taking any action on halting construction. The current construction, as designed and bid, has been approved for funding through state agencies. There are grant contracts between the district and those state agencies spelling out how the money can and cannot be used, what the deliverables for those grant contracts are, and if changes or amendments are allowed, what the process would be for making those changes or amendments. Before taking action on halting or suspending construction, the board should understand how that action would impact those grants and grant funds. For example, will the fees involved in a temporary halt, such as change orders or securing the construction site, be allowable grant expenses, or would they be the burden of the school district's taxpayers? The board should discuss with the state agencies if the agencies would allow major revisions to the plans that have already been approved. Would the state agencies even allow the grant funds to be used to cover redesigns or re-engineering? The board should also understand what would happen if you would choose to end construction before project completion. Would the state funds be allowed to pay for construction already completed, or would this again become the burden of the school district's taxpayers? I realize the state agency was funding a new school project. They may not allow their funds to be used if there isn't a new school fully constructed as deliverable to those grant contracts. Thank you for your time. And again, I just encourage you to explore things fully before making any decisions tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Carey. At this time, Mrs. Dottie Mathers.
Hi, I'm Dottie Mathers, and I live at 517 Gentry Lane, Montoursville. First, I want to congratulate the new board members for winning a hard-fought election. You now have the responsibility of the school district in your hands. I want to thank the entire board ahead of time for the hard work and long hours you'll be putting in as volunteers to ensure the education of the young people in our community. Please do not be offended by the questions and concerns I am going to ask. Not really knowing where you exactly stand on specific issues other than the platform given during the election, I am unsure of the answers to my questions. I am hopeful that you have already researched and identified the issues and will make full use of all existing resources before you make major decisions. Obviously, with the building project well underway, it will be very difficult for you to accomplish what you initially sought to do in the spring. I was concerned in November when the motion was made to halt the project immediately and for 2 months while the board researched options. I am not a construction expert, but I've been told that stopping the project over the cold months without proper winterization could cause major buckling and damage to what has already been built. Some of the interior walls do not have footers, and I've been told that even the exterior walls with footers need to have a specific amount of weight on them to prevent buckling. Another concern is fines and lawsuits the district may incur by stopping or just suspending the project. The construction company has signed a contract and have employees hired or subcontracted to work over the next 2 months. Diminishing their work is obviously going to cause lost profit on which the company and employees are dependent. These major commercial projects are long in duration, and contractors just can't fill the void with other immediate work. Another concern with suspending the project for 2 months is the impact on phasing of the construction to minimize the effect on the education of the students during the project. It is my understanding that the initial plan was to have minimal impact on students and may very well have not needed to have any trailers brought in for the classes. That may not be the case if the construction is delayed. Please make sure you have a clear understanding of the implications of suspending or halting the building while you research the options. It may cost $100,000 to continue the project. I don't know the exact amount, but it could cost millions in damages, lawsuits, etc. if you don't. Without a clear plan and costs of the same, it is difficult to quantify the impact. As you discuss options tonight, please let the public know what that impact will be that you have researched if you know it. The Center for Public Education states, and I quote, "The local school board is a critical public link to public schools. Whether elected or appointed, school board members serve their communities in several important ways. First and foremost, school board members look out for students. Education is not a line item on the school board's agenda. It is the only item. When making decisions about school programs, school boards incorporate their community's view of what students should know and be able to do.
Thank you, Mrs. Mathers. Your time is up. Thank you. Ms. Carrie Pauling, you may come forward.
Hi, I'm Carrie Pauling, 312 Tool Street. I'm mostly, I'll talk about building construction, but mostly I'm just here to advocate for the students. Standing up here to speak is totally out of character for me, but I could not pass up the opportunity to personally and publicly thank board members Jennifer Marriott, Scott Conkle, and Bill Ruffing for their support over the last 2 years plus for this building project. Thanks for your many hours of hard work and your research and your time spent in board meetings, weighing decisions on the school building project, and for being the underdogs at this point and still standing up for what you believe. That goes to the administration, who's also been a part of this project. To the new board members sitting here today, congratulations. You have a really heavy responsibility now to deliver on your range of promises, of being transparent, of not raising taxes, and at the same time stopping this project and saving this out-of-date building. I'm sure you're aware that the community is really paying attention now, both sides, and the Department of Education as well. So I have to wonder too of any promises that you've made to the students, because so far I feel like we've been entirely lost in this process. Ultimately, school purpose is to educate students, and a school board's purpose is to support that effort. And Dottie Mathers actually just quoted the same quote that I found. First and foremost, school boards look out for students. Education is not a line item, like she said. It's the only item. They are the reason we are all here. They're the reason for the school. I sincerely hope that in 2 years or 4 years, I can stand up here and thank you for making decisions for the good of the students based on research and facts, for contributing to the construction of a great high school, and for bringing the best curriculum and teachers to the district. You've accepted a huge responsibility, and I hope it's because you want what's best for the students. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Pauling. Ms. Susan Masley. Ms. Jamie Cordell.
Jamie Cordell, 1020 Arthur Road, Montoursville. I didn't write a thing because I really didn't know how I was going to speak, because honestly, I'm not a speaker. My husband is the speaker. I am not. I really don't have much to do with any of this beforehand until 6 months ago, when it became a concern for everyone in the community, and that includes you guys and everyone here included. Honestly, I'm nervous because I don't speak. But I can tell you this, I moved to this community because I wanted a good education and I wanted the opportunities for my kids. And when I moved here, I felt I had all of that, and I want them to feel that way too. My son is in 9th grade, and I've heard 9th graders scared to death about what's going to happen. And honestly, I don't know. And I'm really scared too. I'm nervous, I have concerns. And I know I'm not professional standing up here telling you all of the facts and all of the research, because I didn't do any of that. But I can tell you as a community member and as a mother that I am so nervous about what you guys are going to decide as a group. I listen to both sides. You know, I've heard a lot of things, and I do want to congratulate you guys guys for being here. And I hope and I pray that you listen to the community and you understand that not 100% of the community wanted to stop this project by any means. So please just listen to what we have to say, listen to the students, and know that this is why you are here. Okay? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Rebecca. Ms. Pamela Nelson.
Hi, Pamela Nelson, 225 Bennett Street. I just wanted to congratulate the current board, well, the old, and the new members of the board, and wish you well on the work that's ahead of you. I know we haven't always had the same opinion in the past of our visions of the future, but regardless, today is where we're at, and I just want to work together. I hope that we're all looking from today forward, and I want to look from today forward and leave the past in the past, the hard feelings in the past, and just work together. As a taxpayer, I hope that any decisions that you do make are made with the full understanding and looking at the impact that it has on the residents of our district. As a parent, I hope you fully understand, and I think you do, what a great program we have, and we would still like to make it greater, and I think that that's what you want as well too. I hope that you continue to work with the great administrators, teachers, staff of this district, and again, I hope you always put the current and the future students first. Always looking through the windshield and not in the rearview mirror. As both a taxpayer and as a parent, I would like to work together with you from this point on and move forward to make this district, to keep this district great and make it greater. I want to work together. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Nelson. We still have a little bit of time left. If there is anybody else that wants to come up and address the board with comments, you will be allowed 3 minutes each. This time we'll take comments.
Hi, my name is Danielle Smith. I live at 236 Dublin Road. I'd like to talk about the construction project about that. They say that it's not really affecting the students yet, but the wood shop, metal shop, ag shop students, clearing out the rooms, what are we supposed to do? We're supposed to work on hands-on in those classes. We're going to be put into a classroom. Doing what? Bookwork? How are we supposed to learn about the subjects, the classes that we're taking? We are going to be stuck doing classwork, bookwork, when you have a bunch of kids that want to work hands-on. But I don't think you guys see that. You're worried about the money in that. Think about the students. We have to deal with this. I'm a senior in high school. This is the second time I have gone through construction. It wasn't fun the first time. Doesn't feel like it's fun this time either. Everybody tells us that high school is supposed to be the best years of our lives. I don't see where there's any truth in that. Not now, not ever. So think about the future students coming through, not just about yourselves.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Hi, Cheyenne Wood, 1135 Quaker State Road. I want to talk about some of the
a lot of like concern over the money and whether it's worth it or not. But I can honestly say I've learned more from that than anything. There we learned about business and what it means to deal with finances. I know it's like pretty relevant to what you're doing here and dealing with a lot of monetary decisions. So I think it's just really important that you take into consideration how important the extracurricular and field trips and out of the classroom learning experiences are. Thanks.
Thank you. Anybody else wish to speak? Okay, that went into our comment period.
Mr. President, may I have the floor?
Yes, you may, Mr. Kaplan.
I'd like to make a motion to change the school board solicitor to Benjamin Landon, Esquire, of the firm of McNerney, Page, Vanderlyn and Hall, at an hourly wage of $150.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Secretary, could I have a roll call vote?
Mr. Hagemeyer.
Yes.
Mrs. Johns.
Yes.
Mr. Kaplan.
Yes.
Mr. Conkle.
No.
Mr. Lowe.
Yes.
Mrs. Marriott.
No.
Mr. McCleary.
Yes.
Mr. Ruffin.
No.
Mr. Snell.
Yes. Motion carries.
Mr. President, may I have the floor, please?
Mr. Landon, would you come up and take a seat? Thank you, Mr. Holland, for your service. Mr. McCleary, now you may have the floor.
Sorry about that, thank you. I'd like to make a motion, if you could just give me a moment, I would like to pass these down, the motion is in text, would you just please pass them down? I might not have enough for everybody, I got none, so. Mr. President, this time I'd like to make a motion to hire Bassett Engineering and its team of professionals to conduct a value engineering study of the high school project. Estimated cost of this is set at $60,000. All Montoursville area school district employees shall give their full cooperation to the team and allow the team full access to all areas of school property. Thank you, Mr. President.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Mr. Secretary, I would like a roll call vote.
Mr. Hagemeyer.
Yes.
Mrs. Johns.
Yes.
Mr. Kaplan.
Yes.
Mr. Conkle. Mr. Lowe.
Yes.
Mrs. Marriott.
No.
Mr. McCleary.
Yes.
Mr. Ruffin.
No.
Mr. Snell.
Yes. Motion carries. Is Mr. Bassett here? He's not here. Questions or comments? All those in favor? Opposed?
No.
Motion carries.
President, may I have one more?
Yes, you may.
Make a motion that from this point forward, the board rescind the Montoursville Area School District's administration's ability to approve change orders for the high school construction project. The change orders for construction must now be approved by the board president and/or chairman of the Building and Grounds Committee.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Mr. President, may I have the floor?
Yes, you may.
Mr. President, I make a motion to form an academic evaluation team headed up by Mrs. Jill Kaplan, who is volunteering her time, and all the Montoursville Area School District employees shall give her and her team their full cooperation, allow her full access to all areas of school properties.
Do I have your second?
Second.
Questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. This time, we will move on to the action items.
Before I begin with my section, if you could make sure that I have those motions, please, it would make it a lot easier for the minutes, once that were given to me. I appreciate it. Thank you. You have received copies of the treasurer's reports for the period ending November 30th, 2015 for the general fund and cafeteria fund, as well as a listing of invoices for the general fund, cafeteria fund, and capital project fund for the period ending November 30th, 2015. We are submitting these to the board for your consideration of approval.
Mr. President, I would like to have these sections voted on separately. Section general funds, A, general fund, B, cafeteria fund, and C, capital projects fund.
I would like to make a motion to split the fund and split the approvals on the different funds.
Mr. Snell, I'm sorry, I'm really having trouble hearing.
I will make a motion to split the separate funds, A, B, and C, and vote on each one separately. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Questions or comments?
On the general fund,
No, Alan, this is just a split.
oh, we got a vote. Okay, we need a second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. I make a motion to approve 3A, the general fund. Can I get a second?
Second.
Questions or comments?
Mr. President, I would like to table item 0049-606 for further review.
repeat that, please.
I would like to, in the general fund, section A, I would like to have item 0049606 table for further review. Make a motion.
Let me just clarify, that was 94606?
49606.
This time I'd like to withdraw the first motion to approve 3A, the general fund. Do I have a second? I make a motion to accept all of 3A except check number 000496606. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Questions or comments? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Check number 0004966 is tabled until further review. I'd like to make a motion to approve for payment 3B, the cafeteria fund. Could I have a second?
Second.
Questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. I'd like to make a motion to approve bills for payment of 3C, the capital project fund. Questions or comments?
Mr. President, I would like to move to table these bills 1013 through 1020, pending further review.
I have a second to table check numbers 1013 through 1020. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. I now make a motion to approve bills for payments on 3C, excluding check number 1013 through 1020. next move on to the report of the superintendent, Dr. Bauer.
Thank you, Mr. President. Board members, for your review this evening, I know you had the agenda ahead of time. At this time, I would like to move forward to personnel matters. For your consideration, items A through E.
Motion to approve.
Do I have a second? Questions or comments? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. Takes us to B, festival and tournament participation. I do have one change for you this evening. The very first one, Linda Kaiser, for the FBLA Regional Conference, that expense to the district should now be $0. Would you please make that note for me? Sorry.
That was my mistake.
Okay, so that is accurate now?
For the 11/13 conference in college, for the $165, that is that does not affect the regional conference.
Okay, so the first one, Linda Kaiser, is saying that is accurate. That 600 is correct.
As in second.
Okay. So for your
next school board meeting is January the 13th, if I'm not mistaken. Does that give you enough time? How's,
It would give, we would be able to turn in the money the next day, however, then they wouldn't know how much money they need to raise, if they needed to raise money, or if they needed to pay themselves. We would have a day.
well, what I'm saying is, though, the price tag is $6,000, any money they raise could be taken off of that. Would you know that by January 13th?
Would I know the amount that they raise?
Yes.
You don't even know who's going, correct?
I don't know who's going, I won't know who's going until January 6th. So if they need to raise money, it would be in case they make a mistake.
Doesn't the FBLA as a group hold fundraisers to help support the group as a whole?
No, they have individual accounts, and they fundraise for their individual accounts. The only fundraisers that we do as a group are to fund charitable contributions. That's the only we do as a group. The rest, we used to do it that way, but for the last few years, they each have their own individual accounts, and any money that they earn goes into their individual account that can go towards their trips.
But the problem with that is that if they don't know until they go to the regional conference, rather they'll be moving on, that doesn't give them much time to do any fundraising.
Correct.
Doing it that way and not as a group.
Correct. In the past, the school district was paid for academic, when they were competing in academics, they paid, so that's why we switched it over to individual accounts. But I see your.
Thank you.
Mr. Hagemeyer, Mr. President, I address Mr. Hagemeyer.
Yes.
As far as tabling your motion, my understanding, I'm sorry, what? As far as you tabling the motion, my understanding is if we do table the motion, at this point in time, nothing bad will happen to the funding. According to you, ma'am, we still have some time to look at this, is that correct? Yes or no?
Well, that may I ask a question?
What she said, Mr. McCleary, was they would not find out until the day, or when we have the next meeting to decide on it, they would only have a day to make the arrangements. And that is cutting it a little bit short. I really think that in the future that the fundraising should be done as a group, and so we don't run into this problem again, because this is a real problem. I know other clubs in that fundraise as a group, and it would probably be a good idea so this problem doesn't happen again, and we wouldn't even have to be discussing it.
Mr. President, would you like me to remove my motion to table this then?
That's up to you.
Well, because of the time constraints, I think we almost need to.
I
So
agree.
I'd like to remove my motion to table.
Motion has been removed. So we will have any more questions and comments on the original motion to Any other questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
And miscellaneous matters, recommend board approval of the agreement between the American National Red Cross and Montoursville Area School District for the use of different facilities as an emergency shelter during a disaster. This agreement is in accordance with School Board Policy 707, use of facilities, Section 2, use of school facilities in emergency as a match. For your consideration.
Motion to approve.
We have a second. Questions or comments?
Yes. This contract with the Red Cross, unless I missed it, has no start or end date whatsoever.
The start date would be if you approve it. And I believe it was off the top of my head, I think it was a multi-year contract, let's say.
I have no objection. I just pointing out that it needs to be noted.
They have an actual review process where they come around. They actually come and inspect the facilities, and I can't remember what that process is in terms of how many years. But we can verify that at signing if you approve tonight.
This contract, or the use of the 4 schools as shelters is very important. We had some serious problems during the January 19th, 1996 flood, where some of the students were put in harm's way by the district, rather than they had no facilities to keep them, rather than send them home. And so I would like to not only have shelters available, but I would recommend that they be available to the school also, not just to the community, and have equipment, cots, whatever, on site so that they can set up for some of the students. I was the emergency services coordinator for Montoursville Creek Township, and I can tell you that it would have been a very nice thing for the parents to have that option, especially since these floods on the Wellsock Creek occur very quickly with very little warning, and a lot of people get left high and dry. They get left surrounded by water. So I actually commend the school and the administration for putting this together.
Yeah, sure. We can certainly sit down with American Red Cross and see their availability for cops and see how we could utilize those, in emergency. When we get the signatures, we call them back in and pick it up. We can have that conversation with all of them.
Great, thank you.
Absolutely.
Any other questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. NB, recommend board approval for the acceptance of the EITC grant from the First Community Foundation Partnership in the amount of $4,426.91. These funds will be applied for the writing training cost at the high school. For your consideration.
Questions or comments?
Yes. I'm not really sure who gets the training, writing training, and something about what the program does. And also, I gather that EITC is a 50% match. Is that right? No. This is 100%. Right. What is the writing? Who gets the writing training? Teachers, the students?
Teachers. Go ahead.
Mr. Captain, EITC is the Earned Income Tax Credit Program. program that local businesses may choose to apply their state tax or a portion thereof to stay in this fund and to stay in the area and go to charitable organizations. And we apply for that. I apply for a number of those every year. This is actually money left from last year. We'll clean up last year's money that's available to us. Then I have two more that you'll see in the future for this year, totaling about $30,000. The program I'm talking about here is the John Collins Writing Program. It's something we undertook 2 years ago. We brought the John Collins trainers in to work with all the 6 through 12 language arts teachers, starting 2 years ago. This year, we're bringing them back to spread out at the high school into the math, science, and social studies. That training is actually here 5 days this year. And the total cost of that training is $11,000. This money will go towards that, and then the future grant for the rest of the year will cover that.
Any other questions or comments?
$7,000 for 5 days?
Sorry?
It was $11,000 for 5 days?
That is correct. $11,000 for 5 days of training.
This is so special. $2,000.
It's a proven program with good results. That is the going rate of the training.
Is there other organizations that compete in this training?
Not with this model. There are lots of training.
I mean, is this something that you just go with one organization, you bid it out?
It is service. Okay. So it is a service. It is a program that's been around 20 plus years. A lot of proven results. Most of the districts, not all, most of the districts in the county are taking advantage.
Participating. Thank you very much.
How many teachers are involved in this training?
6 social studies teachers at the high school, 5 math teachers at the high school, and 4 science teachers at the high school this year.
Thank you.
You don't have to keep standing up. The grant, how does it fall within the calendar year? When do you know you get this money? And what's the logistics of applying? When does it come due? You know, do you not get it some year just because you just don't get it?
It is a competitive grant, so you always stand a chance of not getting it. Every district submits, nearly every district submits applications.
But what are they competitive? What's the competitive nature that makes you worthy of it versus another school district?
It's the grant committee that reviews it. They have to see merit in your application. If you ask for something silly, like for example, if you simply go ask for, we want to use money to buy textbooks, the committee would frown on that and say that is a responsibility of the school.
Okay.
This is for something above and beyond that has merit, that has some proof behind it, that they feel is going to make a difference in your kids.
Very good. Thank you, sir.
Any other questions or comments? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Thank you. And lastly, consider approval of a proposal from Basque Engineering Incorporated for mechanical consulting engineering services at Westlake Valley Elementary School, as outlined in the proposal dated November 17, 2015, with a total cost of $38,310 as attached. For your consideration.
Motion to approve.
So this was the school bid,
Yes.
correct?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Dr. Powers, that's $36,310.
Yeah, did I misspeak?
Yes, I want to make sure my numbers.
Sorry, that's correct. $36,310.
Questions or comments? Did we get a second on this? Could I get a second? Questions or comments?
Yeah, I'd like to
Yes, sir. We did have several companies interested early on, and they backed out. So this was the one and only proposal that actually got fully submitted.
Any other questions or comments? All those in favor? Opposed?
No.
Motion carries.
Thank you very much. Back to you.
Mr. Bassett, I'd like you to come up and speak when you're
I'm going to read from my sheet that I have here. I have assembled a team that includes, this is regarding the value engineering study of the high school. I have assembled a team that includes local structural, heating, and ventilation, and electrical engineering plus an architect, all of whom have extensive experience with the study, design, and construction of schools and other multi-billion-dollar public buildings. We will conduct a value engineering study of existing schools to resolve the concerns that have been identified previously, including heating and ventilation, electrical, structural, and safety features. We will also evaluate the school's existing building space to determine whether it will meet the projected needs and goals for academic and extracurricular activities. Should our evaluation conclude that the existing buildings are inadequate, we will develop alternatives to provide the additional space needed. The first option for additional space will be the newly constructed additions. Can they be used as presently designed or repurposed for new use? We will tour the school with district staff and review drawings to itemize the problems, determine their extent, and develop means to correct them when possible. We will estimate construction costs using standard cost factors. We may also review our recommendations with contractors experienced with this type of work if we think that would be beneficial. We will work closely with the districts throughout the study. We will report on our findings no later than the board's second meeting in January.
Does anybody have any questions or comments for Mr. Bassett? Thank you, Mr. Bassett.
Thank you.
This time, I'd like to report to the business manager.
Thank you, Mr. President. We recommend approval for Mr. Ronald Snell, President, Mr. William McCleary, Vice President, Mr. George Hegemeyer, Treasurer, and Mr. Robert Saul, Board Secretary, as authorized signers for the following school district bank accounts for the remainder of the 2015-2016 fiscal year.
Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second?
Second.
Questions or comments? All those in favor? Opposed?
No.
Motion carries. At this time, we'll have the reports of the Buildings and Grounds Committee, which is new. The co-curricular is new. The finance is new. The LCTC representative, Mr. Hagemeyer.
Yes, I was just down there the other day, one day last week. I think it's Thursday, not possible. I think it's Thursday. They are just now getting ready to do the painting. I thought that was going to be done during Thanksgiving vacation, but it wasn't. But they're getting ready to do the painting of the walls and the tear up the carpet off the floor and put down tile. That is to be done during the Christmas holiday. One thing I wanted to clear up, I mentioned we have 306 students in Michael CTC. We actually, I forgot about the flex program. There are 7 students in that, so there are actually 313 students in the umbrella of the Lakeland CTC. For some of you who aren't aware of what the students go through down there, several of the new board members and I went down there last month, and I couldn't record this last month's meeting, but I didn't. But I'm going to report it now, and I'm reluctant to do so because, but I'm going to say it anyways. I had a meeting of the safety committee meeting down there, and I walked in the room. Well, we got down there, was an ambulance sitting outside. We weren't sure what was going on. But here in the criminal justice class, the teacher asked the students who all wanted to do it. They all said yes but one, and that is to have pepper spray sprayed in their face. Because they are in criminal justice, they wanted to feel what, if they decide to go in that field after graduation, to see what it feels like. I felt sorry for them, I'll tell you that. So they had just done it right before we got there, and faces were red, ice, they could hardly see out of it. Yeah, felt sorry for them. But just last week when I was down there, we walked into the automotive, and what they're doing down there is they took the front part, the hood, and the front part of the 1962 Chevy, and split the hood, so instead of opening up the normal way a car hood would open up, it opens up sideways and made into a grill. And if I'm not mistaken, they've already used it to cook on. Now, I was also told the turn signal and headlights, I think, are supposed to come out and use some kind of, those areas were dispensers. It's really neat. I was surprised. I thought everybody would enjoy that, and I hope the board members that I took down there heard me, because I think they would have been interesting in seeing it. But that goes to show you what the teachers teach the students down there and what they accomplish. And I think it's great. I am done, Mr. President. Ron, I'm done.
Thank you, Mr. Aguilar. Now we'll move on to the superintendent's informational items. Dr. Dodge.
Thank you. As you can see, members of the board, this is just informational items that we'd like to bring to your attention. We certainly can talk about these as you get these agendas in the mail. You can either call, ask questions, or obviously tonight if something is not adding up to you. There is a correction I would like to point out to you. It should say STEM workshop for the last 4 of those, not STEP, so they're all STEM. Other than the very first one, Bruce Buckle is going to a SAS Institute first. That's it for professional staff, just for your information. There is nothing listed for administrative students or coaching at this time. Any questions on that part before I move on? Okay, very good. And that takes us to the report of the curriculum. Mr. Sacker, please.
On 2 and 3, both reports, the only thing I want to add to my report, but it was actually part of it. If you've been watching the national news lately, the reauthorization of the Title I program at the federal level has gone to the Senate. Both House and Senate committees have approved it. I anticipate that it probably will pass. So how that's very important for Montoursville. The first memo report on the impact on comparability and be very serious. That's a $250,000 item that we are not in compliance with under the new guidelines. I don't know what will happen. I've been notified. I suspect that we'll be notified the rest of this year. I suspect they would notify us and all other districts in our situation probably early next year. I don't know if they withhold funds immediately. The answer
mandates for public schools, not only just in our state, but every state. This new reauthorization really does put it back, to some degree, back to local control. So I know many of our local politicians are pleased to have this go through, or at least to this point. We do think there is there's bipartisanship.
And I echo that. I think there's a lot of good things in it. It moves away from some of the common core standards. It does. The new term, by the way, we're probably not going to be able to no child left behind. It is now every student succeeds.
Question, sir?
Yes.
Basically, referring to the last 10 years, is this something that just kind of came up new? The way this reads, during the last 10 years, there's been very little attempt at trying to work it. So, is this something that's been just relatively new in your field?
I say no. I say 10 years only because that's the data I have. I've been here 7 years, and I can tell you I have been trying to wave this flag ever since I've been here.
Well, the comment there's been very little attempt to straighten it out. Why not?
The majority of the board
Okay.
chosen not to.
That's a fair answer. Thank you very much.
What constitutes compliance or non-compliance?
Compliance means, compliance under the new regs means you cannot spend more than 10% of the cost per pupil in your richest building than you do in your poorest building. In our district, how much detail you want to give? In our district, it only applies to where you have multiple buildings per grade school. So we have one middle school, one high school. That's exempt. We don't have to worry about that. But we have 2 buildings at the elementary level. So we have comparability. We have to demonstrate comparability. Our poorer building, based on free and reduced lunch populations, that's what you must use to calculate. The poorer building is light. The richer building is valid. So when you add up all expenses, minus capital expenses and federal expenses, those are the only 2 things you can exclude. When you add up all the expenses in those buildings and divide